Week 10. It's another week where we have to bolster up and get right for the playoffs. This will be a waiver watch video, but we're also going to go over a few players at the end of this video that we can confidently send to Dropsville. As we get closer and closer to the playoffs, we have to cut the dead weight off of our rosters in fantasy. Whether you have a running back that was a starter, was putting up really good numbers, and now has lost his job, whether it's he was injured, healthy scratch, whatever the case may be, we have to start cutting some of the dead weight on our rosters in fantasy. So in this video, we're going to go over 4 players that we should be adding to our roster. We're going to go over the handcuffs we should be adding to our roster on top of that. And finally, we're going to be talking about players that we can confidently send to free agency because we don't want them anymore. Roll the intro. This player was my number one commodity, someone I said we needed to go grab before week 9 started, and if you didn't do that and he's still available, you need to go grab Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns. Last week, I said unload the clip. Do whatever you have to do to get this guy on your team because he's going to be a vital part of an offense that is always trailing, is always throwing, and he's the main beneficiary of that now. So again, you missed out. He's still available. You better be unloading the clip this week. If you missed out on him and you feel like you're truly one wide receiver away and you have a bevy of running backs or you have a bevy of assets that you could trade away, I would definitely look to make a move for Cedric Tillman. Next on this list, if you still need a wide receiver, you don't have what it takes to trade for Cedric Tillman, you don't have him available on your waiver wires this week, you need to go ahead and grab Xavier Legette of the Carolina Panthers. I'm sure everyone has heard the news by now where Jonathan Mingo has been traded to the Cowboys for a 4th round pick. And being that the Panthers just traded Diontae Johnson for a 5th round pick. So yeah, let's not talk about how the Cowboys, my team, got absolutely fleeced at the trade deadline. Let's just not talk about that one, please. Instead, let's talk about Xavier Legette and the new opportunities that are going to be presented to him in the new Carolina Panthers offense without these 2 receivers. Being that he's seeing 6 to 7 targets a game without Diontae Johnson in a not so pass-heavy offense, but has scored a touchdown in each of his last 2 games, that opportunity without Jonathan Mingo, another wide receiver in the room, has the potential to increase yet again. So instead of it being 6 to 7 targets, he might even see a bump in targets even more. I have always personally been a fan of the talent that Xavier Legette provides to an NFL team. Unfortunately, it happens to be the Carolina Panthers, but these Carolina Panthers have to throw to somebody, and that somebody's going to be Xavier Legette. And if you were going to go after Xavier Legette and he wasn't available for some reason, let's talk about his teammate that just got shipped to Dallas, Jonathan Mingo. Now, in the short-term picture, if CeeDee Lamb is going to miss any time, Jonathan Mingo and Jalen Tolbert are going to get a significant boost. Even with Dak Prescott going on IR and missing some time, the Cowboys do need to throw the ball because, for one, we know they can't run the ball, and 2, we know they're going to be trailing in games. So this is almost becoming a good recipe yet again to trust Cowboys wide receivers. We used to trust them in knowing that this was a high-flying passing offense. We know they were going to throw the ball, whether they're up, down, whatever the case may be. And now, they are going to be down in every game. They cannot run the ball, even if they wanted to, up in games. So they have to throw this football. And the main beneficiaries of that are going to be Jonathan Mingo and Jalen Tolbert, who are both very good adds this week. I say either one because if we're expecting that Brandon Cooks is probably not going to be back anytime soon, that's what trading Jonathan Mingo for a 4th round pick tells me, at least as a football fan, that he might not be close to returning anytime soon. When CeeDee Lamb does come back, these 2 can fight for that number 2 wide receiver option in this offense. And I gotta be honest, with how Jalen Tolbert's career so far has gone as a Dallas Cowboy, it's been disappointing to say the least, but it feels like he started to kind of turn it around this year and started to show signs of improvement. But going into this week and beyond, Mingo and Tolbert are basically going to be competing for that second wide receiver role in this offense. So if you can grab Jalen Tolbert, prioritize Jalen Tolbert. If Jalen Tolbert has been added already, you can grab Jonathan Mingo knowing you have just as good of a shot of getting the second wide receiver in this Cowboys offense. And if CeeDee Lamb is going to miss more time, significant time if that, then you definitely have either the number 1 or number 2 option in this Cowboys offense that has to throw, that's going to be trailing, and is going to get the volume we're looking for. And finally, we're going to go recommend a tight end here at this position. I personally have been seeing a lot of people very high on Mike Gesicki after his week last week. I personally don't think that these statistics are sustainable and can be going forward, but he is a good ad. But I would say an even better ad, honestly, is Jonnu Smith, who has only been productive when Tua is the quarterback lately. If we could go back, think about what happened week 2 Thursday Night Football before the Tua injury, Jonnu Smith was getting the ball fed to him exclusively in this offense. He was the safety blanket that I personally expected him to be when the season started. He finished that week 2 Thursday Night Football game with 7 targets and 6 receptions for 53 yards. No, that's not super impressive and eye-jumping off the page, but considering that the Dolphins' offense was horrible after Tua got injured early in the game, and we could argue maybe if Tua played that game and finished that game, that Jonnu Smith would have saw more than 7 targets, and he would have been on our radar as somebody we should be picking up and rostering in our fantasy football leagues. That didn't somehow end up working out, unfortunately, when Skylar Thompson came in. But now, since Tua has come back from his injury, Jonnu Smith has seen no less than 6 targets a game in this offense. Obviously, we want touchdowns. We want touchdowns to be scored. But if somebody's going to get reliable volume like this in a tight end position where it's been really tough to trust a lot of the guys this year, like if you don't have George Kittle, Brock Bowers, I could say even Travis Kelce now, you really don't exactly feel great about the guy you roll out every single week. And that, same thing goes for like a guy like Tucker Kraft. He has great games. Then he has games where he disappears. So I personally really like Jonnu Smith as an ad this week. You're getting somebody with a dependable volume and a dependable workload that, God forbid something went wrong with your team or you're just not feeling the tight end matchup you have this week. You can have somebody on your bench like a Jonnu Smith that is just going to be targeted in a game. He's going to get active. So with everything that I've seen with him lately and his most recent games with Tua, looking back at week 2, looking back at the last 2 weeks since Tua's come back, I really trust Jonnu Smith in his role in this Dolphins offense. We know they like to throw. We know they like to stretch the field and go vertical. And that's exactly what Jonnu Smith does for this team. But now, this is going to be the painful part. This is where we talk about guys we need to send to Dropsville. Get them off our team. Cut the dead weight right off. The prices are way too high and we need to cut it. And unfortunately, if you have any of these 2 running backs named Zach Moss or Devin Singletary, I'm sorry to tell you, it is time to cut them. It is time to cut your losses and just flat out give up on that situation. Now, if you have Chase Brown or Tyrone Tracy Jr., I would not advise dropping these players as this is almost a handcuff level stash, which is great for your team. But if you're somebody who doesn't own the latter, you should not be keeping this player on your roster because if something were to happen, emergency injury on your roster, you can't play a running back. You are not playing either one of these guys if they're healthy. You are just not doing it. So to me, unless a miracle happens for you, you're carrying dead weight on your roster, and it's time to let it go. And shout out to my girl Elsa. She said it best. She hold it down better than anybody else. She knows the deal. You got Devin Singletary, you got Zach Moss. You need to let it go. But now let's talk the juicy stuff. Handcuffs. You own some of these guys. You might want to own some of these guys as an insurance policy in the future. You're going to need to grab Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, and I'm even going to put Tyler Allgeier's name in this hat as well. So if you're listening, Bijan owners, James Cook owners, Breece Hall owners, make sure you go get your handcuff today. You've come way too far this season to not pick up your insurance policy and make sure you still have what it takes to go forward. And there are few and far between guys that we can legitimately trust that if the player in front of them gets hurt, this player can take all of the carries. And that is those 3 guys. Of course, there are more than just these handcuffs, but let's just talk about a couple other handcuffs. A guy like Blake Corum, It just doesn't feel like at this point he's going to take over and just be the guy by himself in that backfield. And the same thing goes for a guy like Justice Hill. Though he has that pass-catching ability, if something were to happen to Derrick Henry, of course, I don't know for sure that Justice Hill becomes the automatic back. And not to mention, Keaton Mitchell could possibly be back as early as this week. So with him coming back, they would probably elect to go back to a split backfield. So if I'm a Derrick Henry owner, I'm not rushing to the waiver wire to go grab a Justice Hill or even grab a Keaton Mitchell, because they can both almost outweigh each other out and make either one of them less fantasy relevant than they could be. So with that, those are the guys we should be adding on waivers. Though I named two more guys, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, we should be cutting dead weight off of our rosters. And finally, giving a quick little handcuff primer, making sure that we know who are the solid handcuffs that we should be grabbing and who are the guys that we can afford to leave on waivers, because we don't want to carry dead weight. This is the most important time of the year. You got to win these games now, and you got to make sure that the roster you construct now is good enough in 4 or 5 weeks from now when you really need to win, because it's win or go home at that point. But if you guys stuck around and watched this entire video, I just want to sit here and thank each and every one of you so much. I do enjoy making content for you guys. I am struggling to find another video throughout the week to make something that's entertaining but also informative for you guys. I feel like the matchup weekly breakdowns was just not doing it. They were a little long. I'm a little boring. Let's keep it 100. I'm not the most entertaining guy in the world, but you know what? I'm informative, and I'll stand on that. And if you're new to the channel and you're like, damn, this guy fine and informative, then you need to make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below. You don't want to miss the next time I drop a nice little nugget of information like this. You don't want to be that guy who misses out, or that lady. And maybe you did find me entertaining. Maybe you found me entertaining and informative. Then make sure you drop a like down below so I know. Keep making videos like this. Keep dropping them. I want to know if you like them. If you don't like them, comment down below, this sucks, and I won't do it again. But nah, for real. Thank you, each and every one of you, so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. It means the absolute world to me. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy. And I will see each and every one of you in the next video. Peace.